Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyler McCardle, and I am a member of the RAMS nominating committee. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon to learn more about the RAMS board and how to run for a position on the RAMS board. We have several guests who are current board members and are here to answer your questions about the election process and timelines and responsibilities and everything else that you might be wondering about as a prospective future board member or leader within the organization. We have a couple questions that we're going to start off with asking, and then as we go through the day, we'll hopefully have some time at the end for everyone to submit their own questions and have an open Q&A towards the end of the hour. So without further ado, I'd like to just introduce a couple of the board members and RAMS leaders who have taken the time to join us today. So thank you all for doing that. And if you guys could just one by one do a brief introduction with your training and what your current RAMS position is.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Jordan. I'm the current RAMS president, and I'm a fourth year at Henry Ford in Detroit. I'm actually in the combined EMIM program.
I'll go next. Hey guys, I'm Hamza. I am the immediate past RAMS resident, currently an admin fellow at Cornell.
I guess I can go next. My name is Mitch Blendon. I am a PGY4 at Northwestern, and I am the secretary treasurer for RAMS.
Hey, I'm Lee Klossner, PGY3 at WashU in St. Louis, and I'm one of the members at large on the RAMS board.
I'm Taylor. I'm a PGY3 at Beth Israel Deaconess in Boston, and I'm a member at large on the RAMS board.
Hi, I'm Daniel Artiga. I'm a PGY2 at the University of Cincinnati, and I'm a RAMS member at large.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a PGY3 at Virginia Commonwealth University, and I am a member at large.
I'm Stephanie. I'm an M3 at Quinnipiac University in Connecticut, and I'm a medical student representative.
I'm a resident at the Hamer program at Mass General Brigham, and I'm also a member at large.
Hi, I'm Bonnie. I'm also a resident at Mass General in Brigham with Patricia, and also a member at large.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you for those introductions. Is there anyone that we're missing? Current RAMS leaders? No? Okay, sounds good. So to start off the afternoon, I'd like to have Daniel just give us a brief overview of what the function of the RAMS board is as a whole, and to speak a little bit as to what leadership positions are available on the board.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Tyler. RAMS board's function is to serve as the resident medical students board to represent us in our interest to SAM, so the Society of Academic Emergency Medicine. We primarily focus on academic projects within emergency medicine. We try to represent student and resident interest in developing products. We work closely with the SAM board and help guiding them in putting out statements or future direction of emergency medicine with tilt and interest towards what the residents and medical students are most interested in. Other tasks we complete is we all serve on a SAM committee as a board liaison to the committee to assess those as individual committees in ensuring they have insight from residents and medical students, and that residents and medical students are as involved as possible. And I think you asked for the positions. I think we have a good representation of all the positions available today. The immediate past presidents obviously filled by the current president upcoming. Then there's the president. The other executive board member is actually the treasurer secretary. Beyond that, we have a total of 8 board member at large. So these are available both to medical students and residents. And then we have 2 positions available for medical students. Lastly, I would like to mention, we're not going to talk about it as much today because it's the Meet the RAMS board, but we do have a position on the SAM board, the resident representative to the SAM board, that's also open for nomination and available. And we can speak a little bit to that position if people are interested.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that overview. Does someone want to talk about how the board interacts with overall SAEM leadership, as well as how individual board members interface with those individuals?
I could talk briefly on that. So part of the SAM, the RAMS board at least leadership, we actually have a novel mentorship program with the SAM board of directors. So as you onboard to the RAMS board, you'll be paired with a mentor who's either of similar interests or just things that are going to be mutually similar between the two of you on the SAM board as well. And then you meet periodically over the course of a calendar year, either in virtual meetings or in person, to kind of further your professional development and leadership development. And beyond that, former structured curriculum there's also both annual meetings over the course of the years. You are able to meet with the SAM leadership and you sit with them side by side on very important conversations happening within our organization and within our specialty. And then as part of individual committee meetings as well, you'll be working alongside them to solve the problems that our committees are facing.
Perfect. Does anyone want to speak to maybe one or two projects that they've done as a RAMS board member and how that's benefited both you individually and also the organization as a whole?
I can speak on that if you don't mind. So hi, I'm Mike D. Flip. I'm actually currently the resident member on the SAEM board of directors, but I served 2 years on the SAEM RAMS board as a member at large, and it was an amazing experience that I would encourage you all to do. But a project I worked on with a bunch of other folks on the RAMS board was creating the RAMS Ambassador Program, which is a new program similar to how ASAP has their local representatives at each residency. We're trying to increase our representation at local EMIGs and residencies. So this was just an avenue to do that. It was a great opportunity just to network with other folks on RAMS, as well as other folks in other organizations, just to see what they're doing, compare, contrast. And it also benefited the organization in the sense that it really allowed me to take a deep dive into our organizational values at SAEM and RAMS, and then sort of see how that would fit into other residencies and EMIGs. So it was a great way to get the professional experience of learning how to communicate with others, get a team, project management, all that sort of stuff. But also on the personal side of it, making a lot of connections at other institutions, which has paid dividends now as someone who is finishing my last year of residency, applying for fellowships and looking for attending jobs over. I plan on staying within academic emergency medicine. And if that's really your trajectory that you see yourself on, this is the organization to join and get involved with. And doing these sorts of projects with other folks at other institutions, just the networking is truly invaluable, as well as the personal and professional growth you'll get.
That sounds awesome. Does anybody else have an example that they'd like to share?
This is just by virtue of being a liaison to different committees, you have opportunities to sort of interact with those committees. And I know we'll probably speak to that later on, but I serve on the education committee and I'm the liaison for the RAMS board as well. But I was able to sort of participate in the development of a roadmap for different fellowship options. In addition to helping to keep them on track and publish this, I can also have an opportunity to help with that. And I think there's other members who can work on didactics as part of, because you get to meet people on these committees where you're kind of serving as a liaison. You're also kind of a good person to help with leading these didactics. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to work on projects through those avenues as well.
I can also speak a little on this too. Last year, we put out both a piece of writing that went into SAM Pulse and also had a didactic SAM regarding unionization efforts, which has been a lot more popular in recent years with many social political climate that's going on now, and particularly important in emergency medicine as well. And one reason why I'd encourage people to join the SAEM RAMS board is to really try to find other motivated individuals who also care about these topics. So the way it benefited me is it really connected me to other board members who were really passionate about this topic. And then we were able to have that forum that was both very educational for me and setting it up, and then actually managing and coordinating the didactic as well. So that's something that's an opportunity I probably wouldn't have had if I didn't join the RAMS board.
And just this kind of piggybacks off of Daniel. So initially I had been interested outside of SAM in care of women experiencing early pregnancy loss in the emergency department. And so I had a small project to do with that. And Hamza was our president. And so I said, hey, this is something that I'm pretty passionate about. Is there anything that we can do with this? So he was able to connect me with Vani or Dr. Rodriguez. And so then from there, I was able to learn from them, and we ended up doing a didactic about the climate of the post Roe v. Wade overturn climate in emergency medicine as pregnancy loss pertains to us. So basically just an example of how my interest and then the people in the RAMS board, just connecting people. And I think that's a huge part of it, just connecting people who have interests or abilities. I didn't know how to do a didactic or anything like that. So just connecting people to make things possible. And now then hopefully someday, then maybe I can help someone else. So it's just kind of passing along the ability to do these projects and try to do what you're passionate about.
Thanks everyone for sharing. Those all sound really awesome opportunities and experiences that you've all had. Do we want to talk about kind of what the time commitment is, and if any of the current leaders could share about how many hours per month they work on SAM responsibilities, both in collective meetings and on an individual basis?
I can speak to that somewhat. So there's a couple different responsibilities for the RAMS board. So you have a RAMS board meeting every other month. That's 1 hour, and it typically requires some prep time. So I'd average that out to at least an hour or two a month for just direct RAMS responsibilities. Then you'll also have a committee assignment to which you'll be the committee liaison. Those committees typically have a monthly check-in meeting that's about an hour long as well. From there, it really depends on how many projects you're involved in. If you're involved in a subcommittee within the committee or projects at your committee level, you can kind of be as involved or not as you want with those. And then there's also projects at the RAMS board level, which again, depending on your bandwidth, you can spend more or less time. And then I think the time kind of leading up to SAM submissions tends to be a little busier for folks. And then there's some downtime over the summer as everyone's transitioning. So I'd estimate probably around 5 hours a month, but there are times where you're going to be giving a little bit more and other times you'll be giving a little bit less.
How about for the executive positions? What does that time commitment look like?
I think I can talk a little bit to that. So very similar to what Taylor had said, obviously it depends on what your subcommittee is and how much bandwidth you have for some other projects along the way. So I think between 5 to 10 hours, just like Taylor had kind of indicated. The one other caveat there is that at the SAM meeting, the big one in May, there's a little bit more of a time commitment that month because obviously you're there for the entire week. And so that month becomes a little bit more. But I agree. I think just like Taylor said, I think regardless of executive committee or especially in the secretary treasurer role, it's more of your bandwidth. So I think 5 to 10 hours other than May and
I'll add too, I'm in a 3-year program and I'm one of our chief residents as well. So have on average less time than my other PGY3 colleagues, but it is doable. You have to obviously schedule, and I've had to work with my program to request some scheduling accommodations that I'm able to make the meetings. But it is doable as either a 3-year or 4-year program.
Just sort of to tag on to what Taylor was saying, we do have a commitment to meetings and to attending your liaison meetings, our RAMS board meetings. And then after that, it really kind of is up to you what sort of things you take on. I know a lot of us get our sort of overall schedule for the year kind of in the spring, and then you know what your upcoming year is going to look like. So for me, when I was choosing what projects in the committee that I'm assigned to, which is the research committee, so which projects I wanted to help them with, I was able to sort of look at what my schedule was going to look at for the year and then look at their objectives, because each committee is going to have been tasked by the RAMS board a series of objectives that they're supposed to achieve before the upcoming meeting. And your job as the liaison is to help them get residents and medical students involved in meeting those objectives. But it's also a good idea for us to be involved in the objectives. And so what I did to help with my time commitment is I really read through the objectives of the committee I was assigned to. And I was like, okay, so my busiest time in my PGY3 year is going to be this chunk right here from September to November. So whenever I was looking for an objective to help the research committee with and choose when my time commitment was going to be larger to that group, I just picked one of their objectives that was going to be more towards the spring, somewhere where I was going to have more time to commit. So you're able to sort of work with the objectives of the committee you're assigned to and figure out where can I commit more or less time, and then sort of adapt your commitment.
Perfect. Thanks for all that input from everyone. So for someone coming into this, maybe there's a few individuals in the webinar who have no previous experience within the organization station within RAMS, and or what positions require a previous commitment.
I think one thing too, and it's great that we're doing this right now because there's still a lot of time to get some more interactions, test a lot, to become a medical student representative. That will be with myself because my wonderful counterpart is, I believe, becoming a resident next year, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that you can't take my
medical student representative position. At the same time, if you've previously served in another leadership role outside of SAM or RAMS, then you could potentially consider yourself applying for the permanent role or for the secretary treasurer role as well. But once again, the whole list that Juana has posted out in terms of the responsibilities and requirements are listed in the group chat.
Could any of the current RAMS leaders share what motivated you to run for a position?
Well, a big part for me to join the SAM RAMS board was my mentor that I had back at UCLA in medical school. She noticed that I was particularly passionate about the specialty as a whole. And for that particular reason, really felt that I should take a leadership position so that I could act on many of the things that were concerning me about the specialty. And again, I was mentioning before with the unionization didactic, that was the one thing that was bugging me my whole fourth year of MS4 with the workforce report, resident rights, and everything else. So again, it gave me a platform to do that. So as we kind of mentioned before too, being on the SAM board also gives you access to even more mentors and other people who are successful in their own rights. So it not only helps to have a mentor, but establishes a path to get more mentorship as you go further and further into your career, which is helpful because the path, depending on where you want to go with emergency medicine, can get a little more complicated. And it helps to have people with experience letting you know what you should be doing to be a successful resident, potentially a fellow, and then a faculty member at an academic program if that's what you're aiming for.
I have something to say about this too. I'm Lauren. I didn't introduce myself. I'm the medical student representative. I thought this was a really cool experience going from EMIG president at my school where you're just representing the specialty. And then I did some other elected or selected leadership experiences at my school. And so I wanted to challenge myself to kind of be a leader on a kind of a bigger stage. And so I felt RAMS is a really good opportunity to do that. And it's made me grow a lot as a leader. And so I think people that are looking for kind of a challenge and want to sharpen that strength, this is definitely the place to do that.
So I was working in the ER for a long time before medical school, and now this is my first time being away from actually working in the ER. So it's kind of strange, but I joined for similar reasons as those two guys. And I'm just so happy that I did, because being away from the ER, it's very strange. And then coming back to SAM and being able to work on emergency medicine projects and look at the workforce data. And it's so nice to be able to come back to that between classes and other experiences that you go through in medical school. It's really nice to be able to kind of come back to our teamwork, because we really do kind of work together as a team and accomplish a lot of things. So it's just really nice. It's kind of like a grounding experience to be able to come back here between classes and medical school projects and whatnot.
Another reason I ran for RAMS was because I believe in service. So I had been previously very heavily involved in the GEMA subcommittee, so the Global Emergency Medicine Academy. I do a lot of work with them, help them with some of the stuff for their meeting, and I was getting a lot out of that in terms of mentorship projects. It's really helping me give direction to my career. I had gotten a lot from attending SAM and from the meetings, and I wanted to contribute to helping other residents, helping other medical students find their place within academic medicine. That's very rewarding to me. I like seeing how this machine works and helping put the meeting together, helping it turn. I find that process all very rewarding, and I like contributing to something that's given so much to me already in this young part of my career.
Those all sound like awesome reasons that you guys got involved, and we're very happy that you did. Daniel, would you be able to give an overview of what the timeline for the nomination and election process looks like?
I don't actually have those in front of me. Wanda, do you have them in front of you?
For nomination?
Yes, ma'am.
So nominations are currently open across the board for all leadership opportunities, the RAMS board, SEM board, various academy leaderships. And those nominations, whether they're self-nominated or someone else nominates you or you nominate someone else, those close on November 10th. Then we, as a RAMS board and the RAMS nominating committee, reviews all the nominations. We provide a final slate in December, and then nominees who were accepted will be notified in December once the slate has been approved, and then elections begin in January.
So just as a plug, nominations are open, and everyone should have gotten an email in their inboxes about an hour or so before we started this webinar. So thanks for sending that out. Perfect. Does anyone have any kind of advice or words of wisdom for applicants as they are working on their nomination paperwork or their packets?
I'll go ahead and fill that one. So your nomination committee form is actually the same form that we send out on your ballot when you're being voted on. The big things we look at on there, the big thing I think anybody looks at is A, what's the experience you bring, what qualifies you to run for that position. And as we said, most of the positions are not a huge requirement. And then the other thing is just what you hope to achieve. What are your goals? What are you interested in? How do you see yourself contributing to RAMS and the future of academic emergency medicine? I don't know if anybody else has anything to add.
I was just about to type answer somewhere. I'll just say it then. So we rank the order of the committees to which we want to be a liaison. but we don't only have to belong to the committee that we're a liaison for. I'm interested in wellness, so I'm also on that, but I'm just not the liaison for it. So I can go and be a committee member, but just not be a liaison for that one. Last year I did that and I ended up on 3 different committees. So I found that was amazing, but also this year I'm going to do only the 2 committees. So you have more opportunities than you could ever imagine.
Sounds great. Before we open it up to the floor for other questions, are there any last words of advice or items that I'm missing or things that we haven't asked about that the leaders would like to share with potential current or potential future applicants?
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that we mentioned already is just past the imposter syndrome. This is an opportunity where anyone and everyone is welcome to apply. And I think that's one of the biggest things we like to highlight is there's no, position or opportunity that's too big. Don't consider yourself that, hey, this is something that I either can't handle. This is a responsibility that I'm not qualified for. You guys are all here. You guys are all engaged. So please feel free to apply for any of the positions. This is a huge family within our organization, and we'd be happy to mentor you along the way. We'd be excited to have you all join us.
Thanks, Hamza. And as a member of the nominating committee, I think that I can second that we would love to have a ton of applications for these positions to sort through and really best group or slate of candidates that we can to move RAMS and move SAM forward as an organization that we possibly can. So yes, please submit that application, even if you're thinking about it and hey, I might be interested, and I encourage you to move forward and put your name forward. I believe so. Thank you to the leaders who were answering questions in the chat. I believe that Cole and Marissa both did get answers to their questions. So for those of you that might not have had it up, Cole asked, are there any in-person requirements beyond the annual meeting? And is there any financial support for attending those meetings? And Michael was gracious enough to respond that no, there are no in-person requirements other than the annual meeting. And board members do have their SAEM registration, hotel, and flights reimbursed and paid for by SAEM parent organizations. So no direct cost to you. And then Marissa asked, what are some of the committee options? Are RAMS board members assigned to committees based on interest or in another way? And I believe Stephanie answered that in the live feed about ranking and then those selections being made for you. However, you are free to join as many committees as you wish. What other questions from medical students or residents are out there that we can answer for you all?
Hi, so I'm an intern at New York Presbyterian. Thank you guys so much for doing this. So I guess one question that I have is, I imagine that at times you guys are going to have initiatives or ideas that are going to require some money to accomplish, whether it's creating some new opportunity for people or whatnot. I'm curious how responsive you found the rest of SAEM in being able to fund ideas that you have, or how much pushback you've had to try and make those things not cost.
All right, someone's going to have to bail me out halfway through here for the explanation, but there's a pretty detailed project proposal process. So even as the RAMS board, everyone in SAM goes through the same process where you write up a project proposal. And I think that this just all happened. So we just did a big review of all the projects, and then the SM board votes on all the proposals. And then as a RAMS board, anything that is relevant to RAMS, like medical students and residents, we will actually get to review the proposals as well and give your input, but the board ultimately has the final deciding power. Overall, there's not a lot of pushback so long as if your project aligns with the strategic initiatives of SAM, they're really excited to fund it. And then throughout the organization, there's lots of other avenues for funding, different kind of grants as well.
I would also like to touch base on what Taylor just said. So the project proposals can be submitted from any member level. It could be a committee member, a resident, a medical student. So you don't need to be part of the RAMS board to submit a project proposal. And a project proposal is only needed if you're asking for more than 8 hours of staff time or more than $1,000 in value. Anything else, it could be funded without a project proposal. You just need to tell us, what are you thinking about doing? Let's have an open discussion about it at one of our board meetings. Or if it's a committee initiative, let's talk about it with the committee leaders. And then once a discussion is made and you're asking for leaders to take part in this initiative, the RAMS board is really great on creating task force. Okay, let's talk about this. What does this mean? What do we need to do? What are action items? What is SEM supporting us on? So those are also different ways of getting projects done.
I also just cannot say enough about the staff support of SAM. One Aaron on the floor right now. It's really, if you've ever tried to do projects as a medical student and a resident, you know how hard it is because our time is already so limited. And it's like having you really have a whole extra staff to help you. So for one of the projects I'm involved in, SAM is helping massively with all the graphics design, or I hosted a webinar last year and I sent the blurb, but then they really did all the heavy lifting with the marketing and actually setting up the webinar. So I just had to recruit a couple folks and do content, but a lot of the administrative part, the marketing was all taken care of for me. So it's really an incredible opportunity.
Does anybody else have any questions for the leaders? Daniel's reminding us that committee signups are also open now. Okay, well, seeing no other questions, I just wanted to thank all of our RAMS leaders for attending and giving up their time to help out our potential applicants. Thank you to our potential applicants for coming in to learn more about the positions. We really, truly do hope that this is something that interests you and that you feel is a good match for you, and that you nominate yourself or nominate a colleague, or if you know of somebody who maybe wasn't able to make it today, that you get them the link to this webinar, as well as encourage them to run as well. We really are looking for a broad, diverse slate of candidates to better represent RAMS and SAEM as a whole. And we'd love to see all of your names across our desks here in a couple of weeks to months.
One thing we did want to talk about is just making sure everybody knows there is an onboarding process. We're formalizing a project right now to make sure everybody gets onboarded, and it just lowers the threshold of what you need to do to be a successful board. And it's imposing and you're not going to know what to do, but there's a process in place that recognizes that board member and RAMS is different, and there's some education that goes into it. So don't let that be the reason you don't apply for a position, certainly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to everyone who attended. This webinar would be shared via our social media channels and the RAMS listserv. So again, if you have any questions whatsoever on the nominations process, timeline, requirements, responsibilities, I will put my email in the chat. You can direct any question to me, and I could always relay onto the RAMS board as well if there's a particular question I do not know. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you to the RAMS board for joining. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.